The auction hall was loud and crowded, filled with bright lights and shouting voices. Rich aliens sat in gold and silver seats, laughing as new slaves were dragged onto the stage. The air smelled of metal, fear, and cheap perfume. Everyone in that place came for one thing, to buy lives for their own use. At the far end of the stage stood a small group of frightened young aliens. They were shaking, thin, and silent. They were called the Defective ones, 5 children from different species, each with strange marks or unusual features. Some were too small, some too weak, some too quiet. But they were not dangerous. They were only different, and in this cruel market, different meant worthless. The auctioneer, a tall creature with 4 glowing eyes, pointed at the children and laughed. "Here we have the defective batch," he shouted. "Cheap, weak, useless. Perfect for anyone who needs something to kick." The crowd roared with laughter. The children lowered their heads. They were used to this humiliation. No one had ever protected them. At that moment, the heavy doors of the hall opened. A human man walked inside. He moved slowly, calmly. Like someone who had seen too many hard days, he wore a simple jacket and old boots. Nothing expensive. His name was Rylan, and he did not belong in this place. Voices whispered through the crowd. "A human? What is he doing here?" "He cannot buy anything." Raylan ignored them. He looked at the children on the stage. Their small hands shook. Their eyes were wet with fear. One little blue girl stared back at him, her eyes wide. Asking for help without saying a word, the auctioneer clapped his hands loudly. "Let us start with these defects," he said. 5 creatures for one very low price." The crowd waited. No one raised a hand. Not a single bid came. The auctioneer growled in annoyance. "Fine. We will sell them one by one." He grabbed the blue girl's arm roughly and pulled her forward. She cried out softly, but no one cared except the human. Rylan stepped forward, his voice firm but calm. "I'll take them." The auctioneer blinked, confused. "Take? Which one?" Rylan lifted his hand slowly. "All of them." Gasps exploded across the hall. People leaned forward, whispering loudly, "Is he mad? Humans cannot handle aliens. That group is worthless. He is wasting his money." Raylan walked to the table and placed a small credit chip on it. The chip was old and scratched, and it barely contained enough money. But for the defective ones, it was more than enough. They were cheaper than broken machines. The auctioneer hesitated, but the rules were rules. And the man needed money more than pride. Sold. He shouted, hitting the gong. The hall filled with laughter again. Mocking, cruel, sharp, but Rylan ignored them all. He walked toward the children as the guards pushed them forward. The blue girl stepped back from him, trembling. The small reptilian child hid behind her leg. A winged alien hugged its own feathers in fear. They did not trust him. Why would they? No one had ever protected them before. Rylan knelt down so he looked less threatening. His voice was soft. "My name is Rylan," he said. "You are safe now." The children did not move. They had heard lies before, but something in his voice felt different. Warm, gentle, human. Before Rylan could speak again, a loud alarm rang through the hall. Red lights flashed. Guards shouted into their radios. "The defective ones are flagged. Unregistered DNA detected. Lock every exit." The crowd shifted nervously. The children froze in terror. Raylan looked up at the screens on the wall. A message flashed in bold letters. Classified genetic signatures detected in Lot 7. Lot 7 was the children. Rylan instantly knew what this meant. Someone wanted these kids found, captured, or erased. Not defective, not weak, but important. Maybe dangerous to someone powerful. The guards started running toward the stage. Weapons in hand, the children panicked, hugging each other tightly. Ryland stood up fast and moved in front of them, his body blocking the guards. His voice strong. "They are mine," he said. "You cannot take them." The guard captain glared at him. "Human. Step aside. These creatures carry illegal DNA. They must be seized." Ryland shook his head once. A calm but deadly gesture. "No," he said. "They come with me." The guards raised their weapons. The children screamed softly. The hall went silent. Everyone watched as one human stood alone against armed soldiers. Ryland turned his head slightly and whispered to the children behind him. "Stay close. Do not run. I will protect you." And as the guards stepped forward, as the alarm screamed, as fear filled the air, the defective ones realized something for the first time in their lives. Someone was willing to fight for them. The guards moved fast, forming a wall of armor and weapons. Their heavy boots shook the metal floor with each step. The crowd pushed back in fear as red lights continued flashing above them. The auction hall, once loud with cruel laughter, had turned into a place of panic. Raylan stayed in front of the children. His arms spread slightly to shield them. The little blue girl gripped the reptilian child's hand tightly. The winged alien folded its trembling feathers close to its body. The smallest one, a pale-eyed child with thin limbs, hid behind Ryland's leg. The guard captain pointed his weapon at Ryland's chest. "You have 5 seconds to move," he growled. "These children are government property. Step aside now." Ryland's voice stayed steady. "They are alive," he said, "and they are under my protection now." The captain laughed. A cold sound with no humor. "A human protecting defective aliens," he said. "This is why your kind will never understand the galaxy." Ryland didn't move. His jaw tightened. His eyes stayed locked on the guard captain. Then the captain gave the order. "Take them." The guards rushed forward, but Ryland reacted quickly. He slammed his elbow into the closest guard's weapon. Knocking it aside, the guard staggered back, surprised that a human dared to fight. The children gasped in fear, but Ryland didn't stop moving. He grabbed a metal tray from a nearby table and used it as a shield. Laser pulses hit the tray with bright sparks. The crowd screamed and scattered, running to the exits. "Stay behind me," Ryland shouted to the children. He backed toward a side corridor, using the tray to block the next shot. The guards struggled to push through the panicking crowd. Some fell, some slipped, some yelled for backup. The little blue girl tugged on Ryland's sleeve. "There is a small door," she said quietly, pointing. "A maintenance door, behind those crates." Ryland nodded. "Lead me." The group moved quickly, staying low. The blue girl guided them with shaking hands. They slipped past a fallen table, past a broken light panel, and reached the small door, half hidden behind boxes. Ryland punched the manual release. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a narrow maintenance tunnel, dark and cold. "Everyone in," Ryland whispered. The children rushed inside, huddling together in the shadows. Ryland followed and shut the door behind them. He pressed his ear against it, listening to the guards shouting outside. "They went this way. Search every corner. They cannot escape." Ryland took a slow breath and turned to the children. The tunnel lights flickered weakly, creating long shadows on their faces. Their eyes were scared but hopeful now, something they had not felt in a long time. "We must move fast," Ryland said. "There will be more guards. We need to reach my ship." The small reptilian child spoke for the first time. His voice was soft and shaky. "Will they kill us if they catch us?" Raylan looked at him. He didn't lie. "Yes," he said quietly. "That is why we must not let them catch us." The children held on to each other as they walked deeper into the tunnel. The winged child stumbled, unused to the tight space. Ryland lifted them gently, supporting their weight. "Thank you," the child whispered. Tucking its wings in, as they moved, the tunnel shook. Loud metal clangs echoed overhead. Guards were opening other doors, searching every path. The emergency lights flashed from red to blue, warning them of incoming units. Ryland checked a panel on the wall. A small map of the tunnels glowed faintly. "We are 4 levels below the landing bay," he said. "If we take the left path and climb the ladder, we can reach it. But we need to be quiet." They moved again, carefully. Every sound felt dangerous. Every step felt too loud. The children breathed softly. Staying close behind Ryland, suddenly, the pale-eyed child stopped walking. It raised a thin hand and whispered, "Someone is coming." Ryland froze. He listened. At first he heard nothing. Then he heard faint metallic tapping. Footsteps, several of them. Moving fast toward the tunnel, Ryland looked around. Searching for a place to hide, he saw an old ventilation shaft on the ceiling. It was narrow but big enough for the children. He pointed up. "Climb," he instructed. "Hurry." One by one, the children climbed with his help. The blue girl first, and the reptilian child. Then the pale-eyed one. The winged child struggled. Its wings got stuck. Ryland gently folded them tighter and pushed them up. Finally, the last child climbed through. Ryland jumped and grabbed the edge of the vent, pulling himself up. His boots left the ground just as the guards entered the tunnel below. Flashlights swept across the metal floor. Voices echoed. They were here. They cannot be far. Ryland held his breath. The children stayed silent. Only the sound of guards' boots filled the tunnel. After long, tense seconds, the guards moved on. Ryland let out a slow breath. "We must go," he whispered. "We do not have much time." He led them through the vent until they reached another panel. He kicked it open and dropped into a storage room. Then he pulled the children down one by one. The landing bay was only 2 doors away now. But outside the storage room, heavy footsteps were approaching. More guards, more weapons, more danger. Ryland looked at the children. Their small bodies were shaking. But in their eyes was trust. Trust in a human they had known for only minutes. He placed a hand on the blue girl's shoulder. "Stay behind me," he whispered again. "No matter what." And then he opened the door. Ready to face whatever waited for them in the landing bay, Ryland opened the storage room door slowly. The dim hallway outside was filled with shadows and the low hum of machines. The landing bay was close now. Only a few turns away. He knew they had to move quickly. But he also knew the guards were closing in from every direction. "Stay close to me," Ryland whispered. The children nodded, their small faces tense and tired. They had been running ever since the auction bell rang. Their tiny feet hurt. Their breaths were short. But none of them complained. They trusted the human more than the world that had abused them. They walked quietly through the hallway, Ryland leading with careful steps. He looked left and right, scanning for movement. The emergency lights blinked red, casting long shadows over the walls. Every corner felt dangerous. Every sound made the children flinch as they reached the end of the hallway. The little blue girl tugged Ryland's sleeve. "Why do they want us so much?" she whispered, her voice shaky. "You bought us, but they call us illegal." Ryland stopped. He looked at the children gathered around him. Their eyes were scared, confused, and full of questions they never had the chance to ask. "You deserve to know," Ryland said softly. "But we must keep moving." They continued walking, turning into a wider corridor. The hall was lined with glowing screens showing ship schedules and cargo lists. But many screens now displayed a new message. Priority alert targets, Lot 7. Pictures of the children flashed beside warnings and red borders. The winged child stared at the screen and whispered. "That is us," Ryland nodded. "Yes," he said. "And it tells me something important." "What?" The reptilian child asked, clutching the blue girl's hand tighter. "You are not defective," Ryland said. "You are wanted." The children looked at each other. Confused, wanted had never been a good word in their lives. It usually meant danger, not value. Ryland crouched down so he was eye level with them. His voice stayed gentle but serious. "You are not born weak," he said. "You were born special." The pale-eyed child blinked slowly. "What does that mean?" Ryland took a slow breath. He had suspected it since he saw the alert message. But now the truth was becoming clear. "Someone tested you," he said. "Someone ran experiments on your DNA, and the results scared them." The winged child's feathers shook. "Are we sick?" they whispered. "No," Ryland said quickly. "Not sick. You are stronger than they want the galaxy to know." The reptilian child stared at his own small hands. "But I cannot fight," he said. "They call me broken." Ryland gently placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said. "Every one of you has something inside you, something rare, and they are afraid of it." The kids were silent now, listening carefully, holding on to every word. "In the wrong hands, your abilities could change the balance of power," Ryland continued. "So they hid you, labeled you defective, sold you cheaply so no one would look too closely." The blue girl swallowed hard. What can we do?" she asked. Her voice was filled with fear and hope together. Ryland shook his head. "I do not know yet," he said. "But I do know one thing. You deserve to live free." The children nodded slowly, but before they could ask more, a sudden noise echoed behind them. Boots, several pairs. Ryland turned quickly and saw shadows moving toward them. "Run," he whispered. The children didn't hesitate. They followed Ryland as he sprinted toward the landing bay at the end of the corridor. The alarm lights flashed faster. Red light pulsed across the hall like a heartbeat. They reached the wide metal doors of the landing bay. Ryland pressed his hand to the scanner. A blue light swept across his palm. Access granted. The doors slid open, filling the hallway with bright white light. Inside the bay were ships of all sizes. Cargo freighters, small transports, personal craft. Ryland's ship, an old, patched-up shuttle, was parked near the corner. It wasn't beautiful, but it was fast enough to save lives. "Go to my ship," Ryland said, pointing straight ahead. The children ran toward it, their small feet echoing on the metal floor. As they reached the ramp, the pale-eyed child suddenly gasped. He grabbed Ryland's sleeve. "Someone else is here," he whispered. He pointed toward the shadows behind a cargo container. Ryland reached for a broken metal pipe lying on the ground. Using it as a weapon, he stepped forward, tense and ready. A figure emerged, tall, armored, with glowing red eyes. A bounty hunter, not a guard. Not part of the security team, but a hired killer. The hunter's voice came out low and mechanical. "Step away from the children. Human, they are valuable targets." Ryland didn't move. He gripped the pipe tighter. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "They are under my protection." The hunter aimed a plasma rifle, its barrel glowing hot. "Then you will die for them," he said. The children screamed. The blue girl reached out toward Ryland, tears filling her eyes. "Please do not leave us," she cried. Ryland stepped in front of them, his body a shield, his voice calm. "I'm not going anywhere," the hunter fired. The blast hit the metal floor and exploded in a flash of light. Ryland jumped back, pulling the children behind a crate. The landing bay erupted into chaos. Now the children understood the truth completely. They were hunted because they were special. They were alive because Ryland fought for them. And they would have to fight too. The battle for their freedom had begun. The landing bay shook with the blast of the plasma shot. Bright sparks scattered across the floor. The children covered their ears as the echo rolled through the giant metal chamber. Ryland pressed his back against a cargo crate, gripping the metal pipe tightly. His breathing was heavy but controlled. He had been in fights before, but never one where 5 children's lives depended on him. The bounty hunter stepped forward from the smoke. His armor was black and polished. His red visor glowed like burning coals. A symbol on his shoulder marked him as a member of the Crimson Trackers, a group known for never failing their hunts. "Human," the hunter called out, "you are protecting subjects far above your clearance level. Stand aside and live." Raylan did not answer. He glanced back at the children huddled behind the crate, their small faces pale and terrified. The winged child clutched their feathers, trembling. The reptilian boy pressed against the floor, trying to make himself small. The pale-eyed child held the blue girl's hand tightly. Ryland leaned down, whispering, "Listen to me. No matter what happens, stay low and do not run. I will draw him away." The blue girl's voice cracked as she whispered. "You will get hurt." Ryland touched her shoulder gently. "That is better than all of you being taken." Before the children could argue, the bounty hunter moved again, firing another plasma shot. The blast hit the crate beside them, sending bits of metal flying. Ryland rolled aside, dragging the children with him into the next row of cargo containers. The hunter's voice echoed across the bay. "You cannot hide. My scanner tracks heartbeats," Ryland cursed under his breath. He needed a plan. His ship was only a short distance away, but the open floor between them might as well have been a battlefield. He peeked out from behind the crate and spotted something important. A maintenance control panel on the wall. If he could reach it, he could activate the cargo lifts and moving belts. It might buy them time. Ryland turned to the children again. "I am going to distract him," he whispered. "When I give the signal, run to the ship." The children stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. The pale-eyed child finally whispered, "We can help." Ryland shook his head quickly. "No," he said. "It is too dangerous." The pale-eyed child looked down, but something flickered in their eyes, something Ryland didn't understand yet. The hunter fired again. Ryland ducked and sprinted to the right, slamming his shoulder into another container. The hunter followed, gun raised, as Ryland ran. He yelled, "Now!" The children ran, their small feet tapping across the metal floor. The blue girl led them toward the ship. The winged child used their arms to balance, moving faster than expected. The reptilian boy darted ahead with surprising speed. The pale-eyed child stayed closest to the blue girl, guiding her. The hunter saw them and turned, but Ryland rushed him from the side, swinging the metal pipe hard. The pipe crashed into the hunter's helmet, sending sparks flying. The hunter staggered, but did not fall. He grabbed Ryland by the jacket and threw him back into a pile of crates. Ryland coughed as the air was knocked from his lungs. "You fight well for a human," the hunter growled. "But you are fragile." Ryland struggled to stand. Gripping the pipe again, he needed to continue buying time. He lifted the pipe and rushed forward again. The hunter dodged easily, grabbing Ryland's arm and twisting it. Ryland gritted his teeth, but did not drop the pipe. The hunter raised his plasma rifle to finish him. But suddenly, the bay lights flickered. Then the hunter froze. Not physically, but his visor flashed with static. His systems glitched for a moment. Ryland blinked in confusion. "What?" Then he saw the pale-eyed child across the bay, standing on the ship's ramp, eyes glowing faintly, their thin hands raised slightly, their face calm. The hunter shouted in frustration. "Neural interference detected. Non-standard psychic activity." Ryland's eyes widened. The pale-eyed child wasn't weak. They were gifted, dangerously gifted. Ryland used the moment, slamming the pipe against the hunter's chest plate. The impact pushed the hunter backwards several steps. Ryland grabbed his arm and yanked him to the ground. The rifle slid across the floor, sparks trailing behind it. "Go!" Rylan shouted. The children reached the ship and scrambled inside. The blue girl waved frantically. "Rylan, hurry!" The hunter recovered fast. He lifted his arm and activated a wrist blade that glowed red. He rushed at Rylan faster than before. Rylan dodged and ran toward the ship. His boots pounded the metal floor. The hunter chased him, slashing the blade. The edge missed Rylan's back by inches. Rylan leaped onto the ramp. He hit the control panel, and the ship's door slammed shut. The hunter's blade scraped across the metal, leaving a glowing scar. Inside, the children crowded around Rylan. Shaking, "You are hurt," the winged child whispered. Touching his arm, "I'll be fine," Rylan said, though his voice was strained. He stumbled into the pilot's seat and pressed the ignition. The engines roared to life. The hunter outside raised his rifle, aiming at the engines. But the pale-eyed child lifted their hand again. The hunter's aim shifted. The rifle jerked to the side. The ship lifted off the ground. Rylan pulled the controls hard. "Hold on," he warned. The ship shot out of the landing bay into the dark sky. Lasers fired from below, missing them by seconds. The children huddled together. Rylan breathed heavily. Relief and fear mixed in his chest. They were alive but far from safe, because the hunters were not done. And more were coming. The ship shot into the dark sky, leaving the auction moon behind, but Rylan knew the danger was far from over. As the stars streaked past the windows, red warning lights blinked on the dashboard. Multiple signals appeared on the radar. Small dots at first, then growing larger, enemy ships. Fast ones, hunters. The children gathered behind Rylan's seat, their faces filled with fear. The blue girl whispered, "They are coming for us." Rylan nodded, gripping the controls. "Yes," he said. "But we are not giving up." The ship shook as the first blast hit the shields. A bright flash lit the cockpit. The reptilian child cried out and covered his face. The winged child wrapped their arms around the others. Trembling, the pale-eyed child stared at the radar, sensing something deeper. "They have more ships," they whispered softly. "They know where we are." Rylan's heart pounded faster. He pushed the engines to maximum, but the old shuttle groaned and rattled. It was never built for fast escapes, never built for running from elite hunters. Rylan looked back at the children. "We need somewhere safe to land," he said. "I cannot fight them in space." The blue girl's eyes widened with worry. "Where can we go?" "There is an old mining moon nearby," Rylan said. "It has caves, tunnels, places to hide." The children nodded, trusting him completely. Rylan adjusted the ship's path. The hunters followed, weapons glowing like red stars in the darkness. More blasts hit the shields, each one louder than the last. The ship trembled violently. One of the panels on the wall sparked. The lights flickered. The engine warnings screamed. Rylan forced the ship downward toward the mining moon. Its rocky surface appeared through the clouds of dust. A harsh, empty world with no cities and no signs of life. Perfect for a desperate last stand. The ship hit the ground hard, sliding across the dirt and skidding into a shallow crater. The metal hull groaned as it came to a stop. For a moment, everything was silent. Just the sound of the children breathing fast. Rylan stood up slowly, wincing as pain shot through his arm and ribs. But he stayed calm. He had to. The children needed him. "We must move," Rylan said quietly. "They will land soon." Outside, engines roared in the sky. Hunter ships circled like predators looking for prey. Rylan led the children out of the shuttle and toward a rocky cave nearby. The ground was cold, the air thin. The moon's light reflected off the sharp stone walls. The children huddled close to him, each step shaking with fear. Inside the cave, shadows danced on the walls. Rylan checked the area quickly. It was deep enough to hide them for a moment. But not forever. The blue girl tugged Ryland's coat. "Are we safe?" she whispered. Ryland knelt down, his voice soft. "Not yet," he said. "But I will keep you safe." Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed at the cave entrance. Armored hunters entered, their red visors glowing in the dark. The crimson trackers had arrived. One of them stepped forward. He was larger than the others, the leader. His voice was cold and cruel. "Human," he said, "you are interfering with high-level genetic assets. Stand aside and give us the children." Raylan moved in front of the group, blocking the hunter's view. "No," he said simply. The leader tilted his head. "You cannot win. You are alone." Ryland tightened his grip on the metal pipe he had taken from the ship. "Then I will lose," he said, "but not before you fail to take them." The hunters raised their weapons. Preparing to fire, the children began to cry softly. The pale-eyed child stepped forward suddenly, grabbing Ryland's hand. "Let me help," they whispered. "I can stop them." Ryland shook his head quickly. "No," he said. "If you use your power now, they will chase you forever." "They already are," the pale-eyed child whispered back, their eyes glowing faintly. "If we do nothing, you will die." Ryland hesitated, then nodded once. "Do what you can," he said softly. The pale-eyed child stepped forward. Their eyes turned brighter, glowing white like twin moons. The cave trembled as a wave of psychic energy filled the air. The hunters struggled. Their visors flickered. Their weapons glitched. Their bodies froze mid-step. "What is this?" The leader growled. His armor sparked as the child's power wrapped around him like invisible chains. The cave shook harder, stones falling from the ceiling. The other children backed away, holding each other. Ryland stood behind the pale-eyed child, ready to protect them if needed, with a final burst of energy. The child collapsed to their knees. The hunters dropped their weapons, their armor shutting down completely. Their lights went dark, their systems dead. Ryland rushed to the child's side, lifting them gently. "You did great," he whispered. "You saved all of us." The child looked up weakly. "Are we safe now?" Ryland nodded slowly. "For now." He turned to the other children. "Come," he said softly. "We need to leave before more hunters arrive." They made their way deeper through the caves until they reached an old mining elevator. It led to underground tunnels far from the landing area, places the hunters wouldn't search. As they rode the elevator down, the children leaned against Ryland. Exhausted, the blue girl held his arm, whispering, "Thank you for not leaving us." Ryland smiled gently. "I told you," he said. "I am not going anywhere." When they reached the lower tunnels, Ryland looked at the 5 children standing around him, dirty, tired, trembling, but alive, free, and no longer alone. "We will find a new world," Ryland said quietly. "A place where no one will call you defective. A place where you can live." The children nodded with tired but hopeful eyes. For the first time in their short, painful lives, they believed him. The final shot shows Ryland leading the 5 children through the dim tunnels, their silhouettes small beside him, but their future glowing brighter than any star. A new family, a new beginning, a new life far away from the hunters who once owned their fate, and together they walked toward freedom.